NCIS has delivered yet another top-class episode in another season full of twists and turns. They are ridiculously consistent with the quality of their content, and we can't get enough of it. Good thing is, we don't have to get enough of it because, as announced recently, NCIS is being renewed by CBS, and it will return for its 20th season. First up, NCIS renewed for 20th season. It was revealed that CBS will give their primetime hit NCIS another season, and it comes as no surprise given that it has always delivered. It's a cash cow at this point for CBS, and it has been bringing in a huge number of views from long-term fans as well as new viewers even after 19 years. The police procedural drama series is an important part of pretty much every household in the United States, and it's just one of those regular things that we all look forward to, like a nice breakfast in the morning. People might think that spinning off episodes along the same storylines might get boring, but allow us to run you through some mind-boggling numbers that suggest otherwise. NCIS improved the 9 p.m. slot on a Monday by 149%. That's insane. Imagine being so good that you're putting out such improvement after nearly 2 decades. It drew more than 11 million views, and if you think only boomers watch it, you are very wrong. That's because over 95.8 billion social media impressions were recorded for NCIS, and as fans of the show ourselves, we can safely say we contributed to some of them at least. Now, the big question. Despite the success of the show and the obvious glee amongst the fans regarding the renewal of the series, the announcement was a bittersweet moment for many. Yeah, of course, we're happy that NCIS is coming back, and we wouldn't have to find something else to do on Monday nights, but there's something that breaks our heart. You probably know what we're talking about, and if you've been following the show, you'd know it just lacked something. That something, of course, is Leroy Jethro Gibbs. Played by the brilliant Mark Harmon, Leroy Jethro Gibbs was the mainstay of the hit series for most of its part, and we already miss him so much. It was announced early that Harmon will be stepping down from his role as Gibbs as the character has fled to Alaska and found peace there. The fact is, NCIS nailed the exit of Gibbs, and the replacement, Agent Alden Parker, played by Gary Cole, has been superb. Still though, without Gibbs, the show just doesn't feel like NCIS. So why did Gibbs leave? Gibbs remains one of the most beloved TV characters in American history, and his shock exit was too much for some to take. But that begs the question, why did Gibbs leave? Well, the answer's quite simple. First of all, Mark Harmon is 70 years old, and that's well past the retirement age in most countries. We can cut him some slack if he wants to spend time with his family and enjoy this part of his life. After all, being on the show is pretty fun, but it can be exhausting and can take a toll on your mental health. He's given us a lot of memories, and he's been like a family figure for many Americans and beyond, and that's why we can let him go. Another reason can be the fact that NCIS wanted to freshen things up a bit. This was a risky move, no doubt, as replacing main characters on the show rarely goes well. However, if early indicators are anything to go by, it feels like they've done a pretty decent job. They managed to provide the answer to the years-long mystery of how Gibbs was getting his boats out of his basement. That tied the story together, for us at least, and then even better that they didn't kill off the character. Smart writing and smart thinking once again. Could Gibbs make a return? Some might say it's too quick to answer such a question, but we are optimistic that Gibbs will make a return sooner or later. Look, the audience is demanding, and everyone wants the same thing, a return for Gibbs. Believe it or not, this can play a big part in the way the writers tend to swing the story, but the biggest hint for his return is in the plot. They could have killed him off, but they didn't. This opens the door for a potential comeback for Gibbs. No one can say if it will be in a full-time capacity or maybe as a short-term role, but we can be certain that he will make a return. Plus, as the story suggests, we need to remember that another character, Donald Ducky Mallard, was also given reduced screen time following his retirement as a medical examiner. We haven't forgotten his on-screen chemistry with Gibbs, and if Ducky plans to exit the show, we might just see a final scene where Gibbs returns to make a possible exit for Ducky even more special. Most important of all, Harmon is still part of the production team. He's the executive producer on the show, and we'd be foolish to say that Gibbs can't make an appearance here and there if it's crucial to the story. After all, one thing we can say for sure is that you can't rule out Leroy Jethro Gibbs. The same was noted by Steve Binder, the writer of NCIS, that Gibbs is known for making comebacks. So we've we've reason to believe that the highly adored Gibbs will make a comeback. Now, the most emotional Gibbs moments. As a tribute to Leroy Jethro Gibbs' character, we've decided to list down some of the most emotional moments involving him. Number 5, Gibbs getting shot in season 12. This was one of the toughest scenes that fans had to endure during the many years of NCIS. Gibbs was on a mission in Iraq investigating a terrorist group and gets shot by a boy. The audience held its collective breath as in the season 13 opener, we see Gibbs fighting for his life, and tears are shed as he struggles with his feelings and coping with this life-changing experience. Number 4, Gibbs loses his father. This is about as real as it gets. NCIS fans saw Ralph Waite, who plays Jackson, father of Gibbs, in an episode Better Angels, and a few weeks later, Ralph Waite passed away in real life. It must have been an incredibly heartbreaking experience for the cast and crew members on set, but when they aired Honor Thy Father, the fans also grieved, and it was an incredibly emotional moment. Number 3, Mike Franks' death. Gibbs' best friend in the show was Supervisory Agent Mike Franks, played by Muse Watson. Mike was already dying because he was very sick, and Gibbs, an accomplished carpenter, was making a casket for his best friend. However, it broke our hearts when the port-to-port killer stabs Mike Franks and Gibbs loses his best friend in the most painful way possible. Number 2, Gibbs loses memory. Most of the new fans of the show might not remember this, but Gibbs was involved in a serious ship bombing toward the end of season 3. This explosion results in a serious memory loss for Gibbs and doesn't recognize his team apart from Jenny and Ducky. The episode becomes even more tragic as we visit Gibbs' past, which is just terribly sad to see. Number 1, Gibbs loses his family. Of course, everyone knows the saddest scene on the show was from the special 2-part episode, Hiatus. It was also the first time the audience gets to know the fate of Gibbs' family, as he loses his wife and daughter when a Mexican drug cartel shot at their car. It was incredibly sad to see Gibbs reliving this scene as he lays in a coma, and the death of his family is something that Gibbs continues to live with throughout the show. Next, life after Leroy Jethro Gibbs. Most TV shows that lose their main character generally lose a huge part of their audience as well. There are countless examples, but off the top of our heads, we saw what happened with That 70s Show and 2.5 Men. So what can we expect from the show after the exit of Leroy Jethro Gibbs? As per the early indicators, NCIS has suffered a somewhat similar fate. At its peak, the show was averaging more than 13 million views per episode. That's crazy. And on average, the show is averaging more than 10 million. That was true even for season 18, the final one with Gibbs, and so far in the 19th season, NCIS viewership has fallen well below 8.5 million per episode. That's incredibly worrisome and raises questions over the future of NCIS. However, it has been renewed for 2022-23. Everything isn't bad though. NCIS is lucky to have Agent Alden Parker as a replacement. Gary Cole's Agent Parker has been the perfect find, and he's carried the show superbly so far. He has a difficult task ahead of him of convincing the long-term fans of the show that he's good enough to fill his shoes of Gibbs. But it remains to be seen if the fans agree with this assessment. That's a wrap for this video. Do you have any questions about NCIS and Mark Harmon's brilliant portrayal of Gibbs? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.